Well, this is a real treat, kiddos. We've got a legend
Ooh,
on the show, the
ooh.
Daily Puck Drop. Ladies and gentlemen, from KNBR in San Francisco, John Lund, talk show host extraordinaire, 49ers pre- and post-game show, husband, father, degenerate gambler,
Ooh, yeah.
drinker, fangirl supporter, and all-around
Yes.
great
Yeah.
human being. John, how are you?
Other than legend, which you're using very liberally, all that other stuff is true. Degenerate gambler. I did marry a fangirl up in Portland back in the day. Been divorced and paying her for a long time. That's been a lot of fun. So that was nice. Other than that, everything is good except for the 49ers suck. But I'm a content guy. I'm just like you. Content. So everybody's moping around KNBR going, oh, I can't believe they lost. I go, guys, this is content. Them winning all the time is boring. Like,
No.
this is great.
You never want middle of the road. You either
No.
want really good or just can
Yeah.
you be craptastic so people are
Right.
angry.
And everybody here thinks that they have a right to go to the Super Bowl every year. So everybody thought, oh, they'll be 5-0 and they'll be right back to where they were last year and everything. And now, Brandon Ayuk and Debo and Kyle, and now it's a dumpster fire. And John Lynch was on our morning show this morning, and he's Mr. Optimistic. He's like Pete Carroll used to be, but now this morning he's like, hi, how are you? Like everything. So everybody's like, sky is fun because we're like you guys. The Giants suck like the Mariners suck.
Oh.
The Warriors, you don't have a basketball team, you got a hockey team, you have hope, even though yesterday was bad. But like the Warriors suck, but they trot Steph Curry out there. So the only hope we have for sports, the Sharks are terrible. So the only hope we have is the Niners, and when they're 2-3, everybody's like, oh,
Sky is falling.
Yeah,
Absolutely, sky is falling.
for us, but that's bad for people's health, I guess.
All right, Thursday night football. Hawks wearing the throwbacks. Niners come to town. They've been talking a lot about a must-win. Now, Seattle really hasn't played that card. You surprised so much how San Francisco is playing that card so much this
I'm glad
week.
you asked that question. So get this. This morning, John Lynch said it's not a must-win, but it's something. I'm down at Levi Stadium right now, and I was in the locker room yesterday, and Nick Bosa goes, well, it's not a must-win, but it's a gotta-have-it, or whatever they do. So apparently Kyle Shanahan gave them this speech yesterday that was, this is not a must-win because that means the season's over, but it's they're trying to term this game a certain way. But here's the problem with that, is if you lose that game and you called it so important, then what's the rest of the season? And here the problem is, okay, after this game, let's say they lose and go to 2-4 and people freak out more, then it's Kansas City at home after that, it's Dallas after that. They still got games against the Seahawks again, but at Buffalo, at Green Bay. Like the early part of the schedule was supposed to be easy for them. And then it was supposed to kind of be like, it might get hard here. They don't beat Kansas City. Like not only in Super Bowls, but like last time they were here a couple years ago, they beat the 49ers at Levi Stadium 44-23. So, I mean, if they're 2-4, they're probably going to be 2-5.
Yeah, it's because you can put too much on one game.
Yeah.
And you put too much on one game, all of a sudden, I mean, the best will press. And that could be, too much pressure on them. I mean, listen, they're banged up just like the Seahawks are banged up. But you start going to that mentality, God, if we don't win, this season's over. God, who knows how players react, right?
Yeah, and just to kind of give you a scene setter, it's not too much to use this word with them. They're desperate to win a Super Bowl because the Seahawks actually at the end of their run and what the 49ers are right now, there's a lot of parallels. But the difference was the Seahawks won a Super Bowl. Now they should have won two, but they won a Super Bowl. So you can put them on that pedestal of Super Bowl winning teams and you can celebrate them and the guys can come back. It's the 10-year anniversary, all these different things. If the 49ers don't win a Super Bowl with this current group, then they join the Harbaugh 49ers of, really, really good, and Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman, all these guys, but they never won it. And so what's happening now, here's the parallel. Sorry, it took me a minute to get to it. But Brock Purdy is going to get paid next year, just like Russell Wilson got paid. And all of a sudden what happened was it deteriorates the defense, which is happening here, the depth, which has already happened here. So, all of a sudden Cliff Averill and Michael Bear, all these guys are not getting paid, or you're just kind of chipping away at it. Well, Bosa's always going to be here and Warner's always going to be here. But now that Brandon Ayuk got paid, Charvarius Ward is a free agent. One of their corners, Demo Lenore, former Oregon Duck, which I know you love so much. He's a free agent at the end of the year. Talanoa Hufanga, free agent at the end of the year. So all of a sudden you have to start deciding, okay, what pieces do we really need to keep? Well, they've paid Kittle, they've paid Warner, they've paid Bosa, they're going to pay Purdy, they've paid McCaffrey. So they're paying what they decided are their core players. But we all know that it's not just about core players. It's about all these other guys who contribute that if you don't follow the team every day or every week, you don't know. So they're getting into that situation, same as the Seahawks did at the end, but they haven't won a Super Bowl, which is creating this. I'm not kidding you because I'm here right now. This pressure, like I told you about John Lynch this morning. I'm not kidding. He was like depressed because they know that once they pay Brock Purdy this next offseason, they're going to lose guys. And that's just what happens. And so, but they haven't won it. So Kyle Shanahan honestly believes they should have 2 or 3 of these things by now, but they have none, which is creating this pressure that honestly people are in a shitty mood. Like all of a sudden everyone around here is like, honestly, you can feel it when you come down here because and desperate's not too strong of a word. They're desperate to win a Super Bowl. And all of a sudden they're seeing, like today's George Kittle's 31st birthday. Like, that doesn't sound old to me and you. I'd love to be 31 again.
I'd kill to be 31 again.
Kill it. I would absolutely 31. Put me in the time machine. But in football years, and especially as hard as he plays, he's questionable again this week because he just plays balls out all the time. And 31 is starting to get old. So, that's what they're up against right now. And I think they're starting to feel it as a team. And so you see it and feel it down here. And then when they get on the field and things start to go wrong, then you're starting to kind of see a desperation in their play, which you don't want to play tight. You want to play loose and have fun, and that's not how they're playing.
Yeah, and then with that, when Purdy gets paid, because it's not only just what it means for the cap and what it means for the loss of players. It happens. I don't care who you are. Maybe it doesn't happen with the Chiefs. I don't know because they've won. But you get jealousy and a little resentment because I guarantee there'll be players on that team that are going to look at that. And as much as they like Brock Purdy and as much as players back in the day liked Russell Wilson, they're going to be like, yeah, but we're really the reason why we're good.
Right.
It's not the quarterback.
No.
He's good, but he's not like the guy.
No, and what's starting to happen too is okay, the center of this all offensively is Christian McCaffrey's out. But everybody's talking about that like he's going to come back. He has Achilles problems on both feet, like both. And so it's kind of like Sherman's situation is last year in Seattle. Like at some point, 1 or 2 or both are going to burst. So they're kind of holding him out because they don't know how long he can last once he comes back. But then the problem becomes offensively, Brandon Ayuk holds out. He's still not right. Now, he did a great week last week, but he's kind of getting under it. Deebo Samuel flat out sucks. I mean, he has something like 15 carries for 36 yards on the ground. He was this revelation. He can't get off man coverage, so he's a problem. He had 1 catch last week. George Kittle is always hurt. Jordan Mason's been kind of a revelation, but they're kind of like the Seahawks. They don't care about their offensive line. They don't really put a lot into it. They think they can coach it up. So then you look at it offensively with McCaffrey, it's all great. But what's happening is they can't get off man coverage. They can't. Their red zone offense is one of the worst in the league. Last year it was it was the best. They scored 70% of the time touchdowns inside the red zone, and McCaffrey scored the majority of those, and he's out. So other guys are supposed to take it up, but Ayuk hasn't been ready. Deebo hasn't been good. Kittle's been off and on hurt. The offensive line stinks. So you look at this team and go, oh my God, they have so many weapons. They're going to crush it. But the crux of that was McCaffrey, and whenever he comes back, that's fine, but everybody's going to be holding their breath.
I'm just getting going online right now to get Seahawks plus the points. I mean, Jesus. God, it's 3.5.
No, and look,
I'm gonna run now to bet on the Seahawks.
Right, and they can win by 50. That's kind of been their nature. But they're 0-2. Here's the thing: they're 0-2 in the division. They shouldn't have lost. The Rams stink, and so they lose to the Rams. And then they're up 23-10 in the half of the Cardinals, and they didn't score in the second half. And so, again, if you look at the overall numbers, they're not bad. But offensively, the red zone is killing them. They're scoring on about 40% of touchdowns on 40% of the red zone trips. And last year they scored on 70. And so everyone around here is like, oh, Christian McCaffrey will come back. I'm like, really? He will? Because the Achilles is the worst injury right now in all of sports. And he's got him on both legs. So that doesn't sound very good.
Chance you don't see him at all this year. Is this a thing that cuts his career short, like ends it?
I don't think that, but again, we see Achilles all the time. Kirk Cousins is dealing with it, and he's not moving great, although he's playing well. But, this is the worst injury, and it affects you the most. It's not that he is not going to play this year, but I'll ask you. I mean, you're a Rhodes Scholar. You went to Washington State.
Yes.
I'll ask you a very simple question. If a guy has to leave the country and go to Germany to have something fixed that can't be done in this country, I don't know about you, But that sounds like that's not very good. In the
Anytime I hear,
dude, here's a plane ticket to Germany.
Yeah.
We don't want to sanction this in the NFL, and we won't even do these procedures in the U.S. But go to Germany and then come back. That sounds like your guy's in some trouble.
Yeah, of course. Anytime I hear an athlete is getting on a plane to go to Germany, I'm like, done.
Yeah.
It's just done.
Like,
it's
so I'm just saying, like, you know how teams are. They're not going to tell you what's going on, and they paint this optimistic picture. But I'm just saying, the Achilles is the worst injury. He has 2 of them, and he just went to Germany. Now, maybe he'll play this year because they'll get that desperate, but that doesn't sound very good. And I'm clearly not a doctor. But that doesn't
All right, what injury wise? George Kittle questionable. Does he play Thursday?
Yeah, I think Kittle plays. The big offensively, other than McCaffrey, they're okay. But like the Seahawks, and the Seahawks are worse. There's no question.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have a similar philosophy in that Chris Forster is their offensive line coach. Not that you need to know that, but they have a philosophy of, hey, we'll coach him up. Well, Colt McKivitz stinks at right tackle. Their right guard is a rookie out of Kansas who's pretty good. Their center gets overwhelmed. So inside, like Hankins would just blow him over like a leaf. So they'll blow him up. And then their left guard stinks, Aaron Banks. And then Trent Williams is really good, but he held out, wasn't in training camp, and he hasn't been Trent Williams so far. So a lot of it has to be – the one thing you'll see this week that you haven't seen from Brock Purdy yet is he's leaving the pocket constantly because of the man coverage, which these guys can't get off of. But also, so there's nowhere to go with the ball, and he's running around and scrambling like crazy. It hasn't been as effective. And then the second thing I think is he's going to get his head knocked off. Like, he's not Josh Allen. He's small. He's not, young from the Panthers small, but I mean, he's a small guy, and he's taking some wicked hits. And I'm thinking to myself, this is just a matter of time. For some reason, he's leaving the pocket more than he ever has.
He has been brilliant against Seattle. I was looking up his numbers. I mean, he's 4-0. He's got 8 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's got a passer rating, John, of 115. He's averaging 287 yards a game. He's been electric against these guys.
He hadn't lost a game to the NFC West until the last couple of weeks with the Rams and the Cardinals. It's not that he's not good still. He is, and he's getting a lot more credit because they've had guys injured, or in Ayuk's case came in late, and he's still playing good. So everybody's like, oh, it's just his weapons. He's not that good. He is really good. There's no question. But since Kansas City in the Super Bowl, teams have said, we're going to man you up. We don't think you can get off it. Debo can't. Kittle's not a great route runner. He often gets compared to Kelsey, but he's not that. He's a great blocker, catcher of the pass as a combination. Not a great route runner. Ricky Pearsall, who, I mean, they're just having a weird season. He got shot. And, so if they had Pearsall, that's why they drafted him. They didn't draft him really as insurance for IU. They drafted him because he can get off man coverage. And so he hasn't played. Juwan Jennings. But you're getting to my point of McCaffrey. Like, they're sitting here crying up here. Now, you guys have really good skill position guys. But even without McCaffrey, Jennings is really good. Ayuk is really good. Debo supposedly is good. Jordan Mason, I don't know, I haven't looked this week, but was second in the league in rushing. So he's been a revelation and knows how to run in the zone scheme. Like, they have plenty of talent to get this thing done. And between the 20 and the 20, they've gotten a lot of yards. But the drop in the red zone, they were 1 for 6 in the red zone scoring touchdowns last week against Arizona. They haven't gotten it done. And specifically, not to get all Greg Pop on you, but like 20-yard line in is the red zone. The low red zone puck is the 10-yard in. And they just haven't been able to run the ball and, like that. And so they've just, I don't know. I mean, he can break out of it, but like, how Andy Reid does all this crazy stuff in the red zone? Like, Kyle Shanahan just thinks, I'll just do what I do.
He has like a totally different offense once he gets in the red zone.
And so, I mean, Andy Reid is nuts, and you just can't stop it. And you have Mahomes, of course, but they've just struggled in the red zone. So they, it's not that they won't move it on the Seahawks, especially with the Seahawks injuries. It's just the red zone has been a totally different deal for them. And, oh, by the way, they're breaking in a new kicker because their stupid kicker tried to make a tackle. It's like, what are you doing, dude?
Hey, does Papa have a sponsor for the low zone?
The
low red zone?
No,
is there a sponsor? Is there a sponsor that's different than the normal red zone?
No, I don't think so. I think they read some red zone thing, but I don't. They'll probably have one soon because like 55 times a game is like they're in the low red zone. I know. Not everything needs a nickname. Not everything needs a name. But yeah, you're right. You bring up a great point. anything that's not nailed down is sponsored nowadays. So
Of course, you
by
can't
Snoop Dogg. It's like, dude, I've had it with Snoop Dogg. I don't need to see the T-Mobile thing with Patrick Mahomes.
He's everywhere.
Jesus Christ. I mean,
Who's everywhere? Who are you more annoyed with right now? Snoop or Jason Kelsey?
Oh boy, that's an impossible question.
Yeah. I love them both, but God, it's too much.
I'm not mad whether it's a bit or it's real with Taylor Swift. I'm not a Swiftie, and I could not name one song. I'm not just saying I just don't. But she's making money for the league one way or the other. All those people are going out and buying stuff. And so I don't really have an issue with it. It's just that, like, dude, how much money do you think, like, Travis Kelsey's doing it because, honestly, she's probably saying to him, like, I have billions. You only have millions. Like, catch up. I'm not buying every dinner and every vacation. Let's go. Under pressure. But, like, Snoop Dogg, dude, you've been making records since, like, the early 90s. But still, like, what are you going to do? Another Joker's Wild? Like, dude, he got paid, what, $500,000 a day at the Olympics? Like, dude.
No, was that really what it was?
Yeah, it was $500,000 a day. It's like, hey, dude, to just be at, like, hey, look who's at fencing, you know? It's like, that guy has to have billions with a B. And it's like, if I had that, it's like, what are you doing? Why are you on a T-Mobile commercial, dude?
Just retire.
God.
Kick it up on the beach.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, oh, he's got that. He's got Corona. So it's like he is just, it's obnoxious. It's like, dude, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Kelsey's doing it because she's going to dump his ass if he doesn't start making some real money.
Yeah.
She makes what he makes in a year in one concert.
I know, it's insane. Hey, what? Back to the Niners for a quick sec. Interior line. What's they're pretty banged up in there. And what was Arizona? Yeah, what was Arizona so effective with, especially in that game last week against them?
Well, the D line is banged up, but again, this goes back to the what happened to the Seahawks has happened to the Niners. They had to let Eric Armstead go. He's in Jacksonville. They signed Javon Hargrave. He's been crummy since he got here, but he got hurt. He's out for the year. They spent a bunch of money on him out of Philadelphia. Now it's Jordan Elliott is hurt, who came over from Cleveland, and he's not very good. So now they're down to guys like Kevin Givens. This guy named Kalia Davis, who was like a 6th-round pick out of Central Florida, hasn't played at all, and they're all excited to get him back. He's hardly ever played. So what they're back to is the interior of the defensive line isn't very good, and so now Bosa gets chipped every play because Bosa's going to be across from Stone Forsythe, which is isn't he in Pearl Jam? But like it's a great name. It'd be a great porn star name, like
yes, it is.
Stone Forsythe,
Yeah. Maybe he is in porn. Good for him.
But he could be. He's like 6'9".
Yeah, why not?
But Bosa's going to be across from him. But then what that means is Fant's going to chip him, a back's going to chip him, somebody's going to come over, a guard's going to hit him. So other guys got to step up. Leonard Floyd's decent. He doesn't hold an edge, but he's decent getting to the quarterback. But the interior of the defensive line is a problem. I'll give you a stat that will just amaze everybody listening. So last year, about 14 games into the season, Arizona rushed for 234 yards against the 49ers. Up to that point in that season, so 2023, first 14 games, the 49ers were giving up about 72 yards on the ground at about 3.6 a carry. Since that game, the Cardinals must have opened up some floodgates and figured it out for other teams because they've had 12 games, and that includes Detroit and Green Bay in the playoffs and the Super Bowl against Kansas City. They're giving up about 60 more yards and a full yard per carry at about 4.8 a carry. So teams are running on them. And that was a staple for the 49ers where you just didn't do that. Well, what you just said about the defensive line is true. They're banged up. Fred Warner played last week and had 12 tackles, but he can't move right now. He's got a bad ankle. Drake Greenlaw blew out his Achilles in the Super Bowl, so he's not playing in this game. And they've got two basically rookie safeties. Jair Brown is a second-year guy who runs like a 4.7 out of Penn State. And Malik Mustafa is a rookie safety, so teams have been going over the top. But my point is that you had a really solid run defense that lost Armstead, lost Hargrave, Warner's hobbling, lost Greenlaw, and have a couple of rookie safeties who make a lot of mistakes. And so all of a sudden, it's going to make sense that you're going to give up a lot more rushing yards, and that's what teams have been doing. And the Seahawks have a guy in Ken Walker who can kind of emulate James Conner, and you know him. He runs really hard. And so what happens, what they've really had trouble with is straight at him kind of stuff, inside zone kind of running right at him kind of stuff. They haven't been tackling as well. They've missed a lot of tackles, and they're missing a lot of guys. So I know Ryan Grubb, a guy you hate because he went to Washington, or was at Washington, but I know he's going to, what was it, 7 carries for running backs, 5 for Walker last week, something like that. They're going to try to run the ball. Now, I don't know that they'll be successful, but the 49ers have, it's uncharacteristic for them if you just watch them as a, every once in a while thing. But they've struggled to stop the run.
It's crazy. They've talked all about how, we're gonna reestablish the run. We can't. It's disrespectful. We got to get him the ball more. I'm gonna tell you what. The first play of the game is gonna be a pass.
Yeah,
they've just been talking too much about wanting to establish the run, and then I've heard this so many times before, and then they're gonna come out and it's like the first few plays are gonna be passes.
Well, I mean that's their strength. I mean, and their offensive line isn't, but like Geno to those 3 receivers is a strength. And here's the other thing about the 49ers. Ward, their best corner, hasn't been playing like it, and he's hurt. He's got like a couple of leg injuries that are an issue. Dima Lenore is a good corner, I will say, even though he went to Oregon and you hate him. That's an Oregon shirt you're wearing right now. I can tell it's green. But he's a really good corner, and he's kind of feisty, undersized, feisty type of guy. But behind that, they have Renardo Green, a rookie out of Florida State, a couple other guys. If it may look like, and they may be saying, yeah, we're going to run it. But really, their best way probably against the 49ers is, their secondary hasn't been very good, and they've been really susceptible against the deep ball. Minnesota got a 97-yarder against them. Tutu Atwell, of all people. Tutu
still in the league?
It beat him for a long one to help lose that game late. The Seahawks, no doubt, will go over the top with DK at least a few times to test those guys deep because the Niners haven't handled it well.
Yeah, and he hasn't been, for DK hasn't been good against them. You go back to the last few games, especially with Ward on him. All right, I've saw the stat where Ward has really shut him down. But if you're saying Ward is banged up, maybe that's something they'll try to take advantage with DK against him.
To be honest with you, I think that if they were in a less desperate situation, they probably wouldn't play Ward, but they have to. I mean, they've got to win this game. And they go 2-5, like I said, and get Kansas City, Dallas, Buffalo, Green Bay on the road. They're going to be in a really tough position. Their only saving grace is, and I think this works for both the Seahawks and the Niners, this division sucks. Like, I know they lost to the Rams and the Cardinals, but both of those teams stink. And so I think it's going to come down to the Seahawks and the 49ers because by default, I think those other teams just aren't very good. I know the Rams are going to get cut back and they'll be a little bit better, but that defense isn't very good. And I think that it's going to come down to the Seahawks and the Niners, which makes this game so important.
And it comes your way tonight, Seahawks 49ers, Thursday Night Football. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the best down in the Bay Area, KNBR, John Lund. Catch him down there in KNBR, also a pregame for the 49ers and postgame. By the way, we've known
each other. I tried to think about this. Math is not my thing, but like 30 years or something. Like you were –
yeah.
I think you were doing shows too, but you were our update anchor in Portland, and then all of a sudden it was like Seattle, and you had been there forever. But like, I've known you for like 30 years or something, like a long time. That's why, like at the beginning, you were saying that stuff, but I'm thinking it's been a long time.
It's been, and that was some golden years. You left, then Furness comes in, so that's our connection. You and Furness had the connection in Salt Lake City. We got who else? God, I can't believe. It's funny back in those days, back in Portland. John and I used to work at 910 The Fan in Portland, way back in the day, early 2000s, and God, Ropp is still there. He's still doing the afternoon drive show.
Guys are both still there.
It's unbelievable. And then old Gavin Dawson killing it in Dallas.
He's in Dallas. So like we actually had a good group of guys, but
great group.
They wanted to pay you like $3 an hour. So like,
it's about right.
I had a kid on the way, and I had a wife and stuff, and like in radio, everybody thinks like you make money or something. It's like we don't make any money, but I kind of fooled my then wife at the time, who I'm still paying. It's really great, but she was a fangirl, and I was like, man, she's super hot. Little did I know later in life she would steal literally all my money. I actually sleep in the studio that I'm at here at Levi's.
Can you imagine in today's day and age? Because people are like, "What's a fangirl?" We had girls that would come out to remotes dressed in bikinis.
Yeah, they would. They literally would, and guys would come out. And all this. Like back in the day, where people actually came out
so much
for
fun.
Like Monday Night Football and stuff, and they would just be like, "Hi," and you're just like, "Yeah, that's for me." What a dummy.
And then didn't we make a calendar?
Yeah. Oh, that was unbelievable. That's what they would do is they would sign calendars. And these guys, I mean, we could be doing a show and come up with the best things ever. And they didn't have the
Care.
sports was sitting next to us. They didn't want anything to do with us. Like they did not. Even the guys who normally come up to you at those kind of remotes, go like, "I listen every day. You're the greatest." Like those guys, even that would scare you, those stalker type.
Yeah.
They would not even give you the time of day. Like they would just stare at the women.
God, I say we bring it back.
In today's society, go like, we can't do that. They're going to have to be fully clothed like a nun. Seriously, they could just show their eyes, like they couldn't do that nowadays. But yeah, back in the day when you could do crazy stuff, like we would do that. And I think they would, I think we had a segment on our show called like something meat. It was definitely like sexual innuendo stuff. And we'd have them out with a cooler somewhere with meat in it. And then we'd randomly ask people questions, and they're like, "The Bengals going to give you a piece of meat." Like, you could never do that now. And they just get like a chuck roast out of a cooler.
It was the glory. It was the glory times.
It was, man. But you're back in them because now you don't have to answer to the man.
I know it. And the best part about doing this, no plugola, no payola.
Right, you can plug anything you want. It's the best. Do anything. By the way, the Kingdom hat, dude, solid.
How about that? Isn't that a great hat?
Kingdom hat is solid.
Bring back the Kingdom.
No, you know what you have to do nowadays? I got a bunch of these in my backpack down here. Because we're all on YouTube and everything now, like I don't normally care what I look like. I would shower for weeks on end. And now it's like if I don't do that, at least I have to throw a hat on or something. So I in my backpack, my work backpack, I have to carry like 10 different hats. So
you can change things out.
Because they get mad. Like they're like, "You wore that hat yesterday, or you wore that hat last hour," and I'm like, "Dude, like I'm trying to not shower and just do a show and not shave. And look at you, man. You got a hat, you got the beard.
Well, I'm not wearing pants though. So
I know you're not.
Yeah,
you never wore pants. I never remember you wearing pants ever. But anyway.
You're the best. Thanks for doing it, and best of luck to your 49ers tonight.
You don't mean that. You've been down here. I've seen you. I've seen you with your kid here. You don't mean that. You don't have to tell me that.
No, I don't mean any of it. I hope you guys. I hope they stomp the shit out of you guys.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing. I would be the same.
You don't even care about the 49ers, though.
Yeah, you want them to die a slow death. You want Purdy to get his legs amputated on the field. I mean, like, that's really, and again, that's why, like, that's what you can do here is like, normally, if you're on the radio, it's like, I was respecting both teams and blah, blah. Like, no, I don't. I hope that Geno Smith, gets blown to the moon, man. I mean, it's, but you can't say that on regular radio. It's like, man, I can't believe they said that. And then it starts on social media. Wow, Puck said
you got to get him off.
Purdy amputated. You
got to get him off. You got to apologize the next day. All right. You can catch this up on YouTube. Also, listen to it back on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. And, of course, up at pucksports.com. Thanks, John.
Good to see you, man.